Accidents and disasters happen to all of us. Sometimes they are our own fault, and sometimes the stars just don't line up. Generally speaking, they aren't that big of a deal, but sometimes one mistake keeps leading to another until there's total chaos. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the largest disasters that have happened in military history, ranked chronologically. Let's begin with number 1, the Battle of Marathon. This battle was a great success for the Greeks, but a huge disaster for the Persians. To the Greeks, it meant that Persians aren't invincible and that resistance was possible. In 490 BC, Persians and Athenians, aided by Plataeans, met on the battlefield. The Persian army had a lot of missile troops, and they were used to wearing the enemy down with arrows, after which they would charge with their infantry units. However, Greeks were aware of that, so they charged the Persians. Persians, not expecting a charge, quickly fell at the wings, with their center collapsing shortly after. Around 6,400 Persians died that day, while the Greeks lost only around 200 men. It was a pivotal moment in their history, as this victory led to many other victories and, through Alexander the Great, the destruction of the Persian Empire. Number 2, Battle of Gaugamela. The Battle of Gaugamela, also known as the Battle of Arbela, was the decisive victory won by Alexander the Great, which led to the fall of the Achaemenid Empire. In 331 BC, near the city of Gaugamela, Alexander the Great found himself outnumbered by Persian troops led by Darius. Darius had arrived early and cleared the battlefield of any obstacles so that he could make good use of his chariots. Alexander began the battle by marching his troops to attack the enemy center using the Sarissa phalanx formation. Macedonian wings were placed at an angle of 45 degrees to lure superior enemy cavalry to attack, which proved successful. Alexander created a false gap on his left flank, which lured even more cavalry in, exposing the enemy center, after which he led the companion cavalry on the enemy center and dealt a winning blow. However, he didn't manage to kill Darius, as he was forced to return and help his right-hand man Parmenion deal with the rest of the Persians. Number 3, Battle of Cannae. The Second Punic War was just a mess. We could add the Battle of Trebia River in here as well, since Romans lost 8 legions or about 40,000 men. We could also add the Battle of Lake Trasimene, in which 30,000 Roman soldiers were ambushed. But the Battle of Cannae was by far the worst Roman defeat possibly ever. Not 1, but 2 Roman armies were destroyed on that day. On the 2nd of August, 216 BC, 86,400 Romans fought 50,000 Carthaginians. The Romans decided to use a formation with a strong center. Carthaginians, on the other hand, decided to have a very weak center. After the battle began, the Carthaginian center started to give ground. The Romans didn't know it at the time, but that was just a trick. As their center was gaining ground, the Carthaginians were surrounding them. Roman flanks fell and soon did the center. 75,000 men died according to Polybius, or 67,500 according to Livy, and only 5,700 Carthaginians died. This was a crushing blow for the Romans. Still, somehow they managed to hold on and even win the war at the Battle of Zama, which we would love to include on this list, but we won't since there are 2 more battles which were larger disasters. Number 4, Battle of Carrhae. Oh, this is just a terrible one. Marcus Licinius Crassus decided that it was a good idea to attack the Parthian Empire. After crossing the border and wandering around for some time, his scouts reported that there is a huge Parthian army nearby and that they're all on horseback. Crassus decided to deploy in a wide line so that his flanks were secure. Mid-deployment, he decided, you know what? Screw that. I like squares. So he had his army deploy in a hollow square. It turned out that his scouts were wrong. The Parthian army was entirely on horseback, but it wasn't nearly as big as they have described. Quickly, they surrounded the Romans and began pounding them with arrows. They did that for the entire day up until nightfall. Crassus' son had died that day, and Crassus was a broken man. It didn't take long for Parthians to kill and capture the rest of the Roman force. It was a humiliating defeat for the Romans, and they lost multiple eagle standards that day, which was a big deal for them. For those of you that don't know, an eagle standard was a statue of an eagle that was carried on a stick. Each legion had one, and it represented Rome itself. Losing it was the worst thing you could do, and they went to great lengths to recover them. Number 5. Battle of the Teutoburg Forest. It was the year 9 AD. Rome was now the empire, led by Augustus, aka Octavian. A Roman army consisting of 3 legions and 6 auxiliary cohorts, led by Publius Quintilius Varus, entered Germania. Varus heard reports of a local rebellion which had been fabricated by Arminius, who was basically a German secret agent, but a native Roman. Arminius tricked Varus into leading his army through a dense forest to put an end to the rebellion. During the march, the Roman army was ambushed by Germanic forces. After a fierce battle, the Romans managed to retreat to their fortified encampment. The Romans undertook a night march to escape, but marched into another trap that Arminius had set. After seeing that the battle had been lost, Varus committed suicide. Romans lost all the eagle standards and 15,000 to 20,000 men. After hearing about the defeat, Emperor Augustus started hitting his head against the palace wall, repeatedly shouting, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions!" That's all, folks. Although 3 out of our 5 entries were Romans, consider that most of the ancient history is dominated by Romans. Next time, we'll take a look at the same topic, only in the medieval era. After that, we'll do 16th through 19th century, and after that, it's the modern era. So stay tuned for those videos. Thanks for watching. Like, and maybe even share if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you feel like it. We'll see you in the next video.